Commissioner Simmons, are you ready?
I'm ready, sir.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the West Fargo City Commission meeting for February 21st, 2023. Our first order of business is please join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next order of business is commissioners to approve the order of the agenda.
Make motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the order of the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Item D is the approval of the minutes of February 6, 2023. They're on pages 3 through 5 in the packet.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of February 6, 2023. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item E is the building permits. The report has been distributed. It is in your packet. It's on pages 6 through 7.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the building permits as presented on pages 6 through 7 in the packet. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. The next order of the business is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is in the packet, has been presented. It is on items A through H, starting on pages 8 through 84.
Move we approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Anderson. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the regular agenda. Item number 1 is the second reading and final approval of rezoning ordinances, final plot approval, and parking reduction resolution for proposed North Pond at the Preserve 16th edition. We have with us this evening Lisa Sankey, who is a planner for the city of West Fargo. It's in your packet. It's on pages 85 through 99. Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you, Commission President Dardis and Commissioners. Nothing's changed since the public hearing on the rezoning earlier this month. This application was received in order to accommodate platting and rezoning of property to R3, multiple dwellings, and to allow for senior affordable housing project. Beyond Shelter has submitted an application showing a 71-unit senior housing project with underground parking on proposed Lot 2. Lot 1 to the north will remain commercial office park. Additionally, the applicant is petitioning for reduced off-street parking requirements from 142 to 106 spaces. A resolution was included in your packets. It is recommended that the city approve the second reading on the zoning ordinance, final plat approval, and resolution for parking reduction for proposed North Pond at the Preserve 16th edition on the basis it is consistent with city plans and ordinances. I'm available to answer any questions, as is the applicant.
Thank you, Ms. Sankey. Questions, commissioners? All right, thank you.
Make motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the second reading and the final approval for rezoning ordinance for the final plat, approval and parking reduction resolution for the proposed North Pond at the Preserve 16th edition. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 2, a furniture bid. Chief Dan Fuller, Fire Chief for the City of West Fargo. Our discussion this evening is to accept the bid for the furniture package that was previously approved in the overall headquarters budget. We now have a line item as to what those bids came in at. It's on pages 100 to 101 in your packet. Chief Fuller, welcome.
Good evening, Commission President Dardis, members of the commission. In front of you is a furniture bid acceptance package. So just to refresh everyone's memory, we have a line item in our overall budget for the fire station project that encumbers furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And within that, there's separate items going underneath that. One of them is furniture, and that's furniture for the entire station, all the furniture. Everything from the training rooms to the offices, the sleeping rooms, even cabinetry, wire cabinetry and stuff like that for out in the apparatus bay for going into our decontamination areas. So we reached out through EAPC, who is our architectural firm. Bids went out on the 20th of December. They were due back on the 11th of January at 2 p.m. They received 3 packages back. They sent out specifically to 4 vendors and only got 3 back. So these are the 3 here. Each one of them is a base price, and then an alternate, which is furniture for the pre-function center area of the fire station that's outside of the training rooms. In my mind, that's not an essential item that we need to go through with, and we're trying to save some money with this package overall. So in order, it would be inner office was the highest at $242,312. Business essentials at $186,061.58, and then connect interiors at $181,511.27. And the bid comparisons were sent to you or put into the package here. Lay out the base price, freight or delivery, installation, and then what the alternates were. So the line items that we're looking at here, I'm recommending not to take the alternates, so just the base prices on these. Connect Interiors was the lowest bidder at $181,511.27, which is under a $200,000 line item in our overall budget that was already approved. We just need to make sure that we can expend that money and have you sign the contract. That's my recommendation.
Thank you, Chief Fuller. Commissioners, any questions?
I haven't heard of this company before, so are they from around the area, and you expect them to be able to
I believe they
service
are.
them and all that
Yep.
when need be?
I believe all of the vendors are vendors that are here in the Fargo Moorhead area. Yep.
Any additional questions for Chief Fuller?
If not, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the furniture bid as presented by Chief Fuller. For the furniture package, Chief Fuller, would you say the stated amount again, please?
It's $181,511.27.
That's to Connect Interiors.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief Fuller.
Thank you.
Item number 3, review a child care facility improvement grant as presented this evening by our Economic Development Manager, Casey Sanders Berglund. Economic Development Manager for the City of West Fargo. And the purpose of the discussion is to approve and adopt a child care facility improvement grant as presented on pages 102 through 111 in the packet. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Commissioner Dardis, Commissioners. I wanted to bring up from our last meeting as we reviewed the draft, the major changes that were made to this draft. The first one being that there's a $1 million cap on the program. added to this an eligible itemized list, as you can see, based on, I guess you would say, their childcare licensing. And then priorities listed by rank. So number one, increased infant capacity for an infant fit-up room. Number two, increased in capacity in childcare for children ages 1 to 4. 3, maintain a facility so that they would remain open based on support for licensing requirements, health code, or fire regulations. The next one would be increase in capacity for care for children ages 5 to 12. And finally, if they were only to remain open based on support for like best practices or things that they would need according to more best practices versus licensing or health code. The next change, based on the fact that we'd be using priorities, I shifted and we would have application periods instead of this just being open continuously. So just having application periods so that we can look at and assess priority. So for example, if an application came in, they did not meet the city's priorities, they could go to a bottom of the list, and if we choose to move forward with those applicants because of necessity, we could, or based on their score for the grant, they might continue to stay at the bottom of the list and only move up if needed. Or potentially, if they don't meet a minimum score on the scoring rubric, they would not be eligible for the grant. So I added 3 separate application periods, given that we haven't gone over our allotted amount. And then lastly, as far as the processing period or processing process, the applicants of over 20,000, or if there's an application that I would specifically question, in the Economic Development Division, it would first go through our Economic Development Committee for consideration and recommendation, but anything below that could come recommended straight to City Commission for final approval. And with that, I turn it over to Commissioner George if you want to add anything. Otherwise, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Yeah, I just want to say how incredibly impressed I am with the work that you have done on this. The commission brought up a lot of questions and concerns and comments in regards to this program, and you've addressed them all. It's truly amazing and incredible work, what you did in a really quite short period of time. I'm extremely impressed, and thank you so much for your work on this.
Sure. Thank you.
Commissioner Olson.
You said there'd be a ranking and scoring system to award that. Do you, I see that on, I don't know, it's page 6 of the actual write-up for you, page 109 on the entire agenda. You said a minimum number, a minimum score. I don't see that anywhere here. So do you have something, is it just to be later to be determined, or do we want to put that out there that you have to rank? Number 1 is increase infant capacity. Did they get a 10 or 15? How are you what are the scoring things there so people know?
Sure. And the initial number that makes sense based on my ranking system, I would say you'd have to score the highest score you could score is a 25 in one bucket. So I would say in order to even be considered for something, right, you might not get a maximum award or anything like that. I think you would need to score at least a 5 on this. So for example, I used some models from some different state grants that have been out there in the past. And so, for example, one might score a 5 for that there's strong evidence that supports that this grant will ensure that the provider will remain open, have a safe facility, and of quality, whereas a 2 would say that there is very limited evidence. And so if there's limited evidence, I just don't think that that would be something that would meet our goals for this grant, and we would not pursue moving that applicant forward.
So you've already developed a scoring rubric and all that stuff, so it's in place?
Yep.
Okay. That was my concern, that we're moving forward and we're still figuring out the program.
Yes, and so I plan on using the scoring rubric as a very black and white way to show any applicant why or where they would land based on what they're submitting in their narrative and supporting documents for their application.
You shared with us that the scoring will be done by the Economic Development Advisory Committee and yourself, okay? What's to, and I'm concerned about the oversight of that group, that if, may I use an example? Say that Commissioner George and I are on there, and she's very passionate about this, okay? But she's missing, and I'm there, and I scored a 3. And that's the score. And the next time, the next person comes in, and Commissioner George is there, and she scores it a 5. So where's the consistency that we know that the applicants will be treated absolutely similarly? That's a concern I have.
Sure. I guess in my opinion, I would lean towards the scoring rubric that allots the specific points to specific descriptions. So it would be a little bit more clear to show. They would need supporting documentation. So we couldn't just look at a business plan and they've documented like this is what we feel we're going to do. We would need to see supporting documentation of past performance or bids, quotes, things that would help support their argument. If one of the other things is like they can show potentially letters from like their licensor or health code, noting things out of like the century code, things like that. I think we'd have to lean on more fact-based versus opinion-based, but I can see what you're saying. I think that can happen with a lot of different things, so.
You shared with me this afternoon, so I'm going to ask you to repeat it. I'd asked, since this has been on the docket or on our commissioner agenda, how many that you've had reach out. And I believe you told me there's 8 licensed daycares in the city of West Fargo proper?
There's many more licensed. There's 75 in-home licensed.
75 in-home.
75 in-home. There's 13 early learning, 8 school age.
8 school age.
4 group in-home.
I only picked out the one number apparently, so thank you for that.
Sure, yep, and those
So,
are current licensed.
With that being said, how many calls have you received encouraging us to move forward with this from the daycares?
Sure, I've had 4 childcare centers reach out to me individually, as well as a few from Fargo asking why they can't participate.
Don't qualify, okay. All right, very good, thank you.
Move over here then.
That's what I said.
Mayor,
Yes, please, Commissioner Simmons.
thank you. Casey, I want to just, I want to make sure I got my memory right here, but this committee will determine the score and all that, but at the end of the day, it still comes to the commission for final approval, correct?
That's correct.
So if there is some problems or whatever, I'm assuming that daycare, or that individual, or whoever would come to that commission meeting and speak their piece, so, right?
If it came to that, I would assume.
Okay, I just want to make sure of that, so there are opportunities if the scoring is off or something, that it could be rectified at the meeting, I guess, or whatever. Or at least looked at.
Yep.
Okay.
Could you go back a step and share with the public the survey that was conducted? Just to give, in general terms, I've had some phone calls, I think maybe 1 or 2 of us other commissioners have too, concerned that we're picking a certain business sector to assist. But if you take a look at the data, it covers all the business sectors, because we're not only assisting with the daycares, we're providing them with an opportunity to have more, the ratios are more kids. And if I remember right, we had 500 and some respondents, and 14% of those respondents were now staying home rather than entering the labor market because of that. So that's a real tell for me, because like I said, I've had responses to me that we're helping out one whole sector. The whole purpose of this is to help those working families to go back into the labor market because there's affordable health care opportunities.
Yeah, that's correct. We conducted a survey through the utility bills. It was pretty close on those numbers, sir. We got 462 responses. We had representing about 162 children in need of care. And then, approximately 470 or 478 kids were represented, but 162 of them needed care that were under the age of 4. So, and that's just of the 462 people that responded. There was 14% is correct that stated they left the workforce due to no access to childcare, and said 24% of people said that they or a spouse would re-enter the workforce if childcare was more affordable or available.
Thank you. Commissioner Olson.
I just want to make it clear, because there was a little confusion yesterday that there was a media report on this, that this was a tax credit program, and it is not that. And thankfully to our communications department, they got that corrected. It is for the facility to get itself, to remain licensed and take care of necessary items that need to be taken care of to maintain their license, so we don't lose that critical
Correct.
cog in the whole grand scheme of things. So I just want to make that clear, that this is not a tax credit.
Right.
But I think there are lots of different bills being worked on out in Bismarck right now, but this does not mirror any of the ones that are currently proposed that we know of.
As of last week, there were 9 bills in the Senate with regard to child care and 1 in the House of Representatives.
To piggyback off of what you're saying, Commissioner Olson, if you look at the eligible item lists on the left-hand column, there's some initials for things that fall under license requirement, required for health code, fire requirement, or best practice or quality assurance. And those were guided. I worked with the team at Child Care Aware of North Dakota to help kind of guide through what some of those best practices are. If you read through the Century Code, there's a few things that are absolute, and a lot of the best practices are hinted at and noted in there, but don't come down to like a finite must have this. So a lot of the best practices are things that you'll see, like controlled access. You see that at almost every larger center that you go to. It's not currently a licensing requirement. However, I think we can all agree that it leads to more safety. So that's under like a best practices. So just to give you a walkthrough of those requirements.
Anyone else? Additional questions? What's your pleasure, Commissioners?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Simmons seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the Child Care Facility Improvement Grant as presented this evening by Casey Sanders Berglund, the Economic Development for the City of West Fargo. And that's approve and adopt the Child Care Facility Improvement Grant Program. Pages 102, 111. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? My comment would be that at the beginning of the day, until I really researched again the survey data, I was hard pressed because we're committing $1 million. But after reading all of the survey, the child care survey that was taking place, and the possibility of putting 14% of our moms or dads back into the workforce, the economic development benefit of this has changed my mind. So the program was, as you said, Commissioner, very well thought out, very well. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Olson?
I look at it as we're helping to keep the other 80+% keeping them in the workforce. This may not actually spur a new center immediately, but because I know people that have had to wait a year or more to get their infant in. Well, they're no longer an infant at that point, so they move on to the next level, so they could be 4 years old by the time there's an open spot. So if we can keep them open, that would be my goal.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? Any more discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda this evening is the Junkyard 5-year pilot and business incentive agreement between, I'm having trouble saying their corporate name, Cremariana Properties, better known as Junkyard Brewing, West Fargo, so we'll just leave it at that. My apologies if I've offended anybody by my lack of phonetic skills. Again, the purpose of this discussion is to consider the approval of a 5-year pilot and business incentive agreement. Pages 112 to 113, and we have back with us Casey Sanders Berglund, our Economic Development Rep. Again, welcome back.
Thank you. Okay, so I have tonight with me the team and developer for Junkyard that, as you know, is looking at joining us in West Fargo at formerly the Bell Bank site on Cheyenne. They've applied for a 5-year pilot as well as a business incentive agreement. So taking a look, kind of jumping right in, I think we're all familiar with their brand and what they've done, but jumping right into kind of the financial analysis of this proposal, if we look at the 5-year pilot, they would pay $100 a year, which is $500 for 5 years. Their property tax amounts to $249,470. And then their projected sales tax is actually $249,473. So really, the variance there, it's almost a wash and can be kind of looked at in that way. I'm not sure if there's any specific questions about that, but feel free to interrupt me. But then jumping into kind of the secondary portion of this, I'm going to take one step back and kind of jump to the Economic Development Advisory Committee. When we discussed this project moving forward, we initially went into the room and discussed a 10-year pilot and what that would look like. It was quite a long, robust discussion. And during that discussion, a representative from the school was there, and all the players for this business were there, and we really discussed that the 10-year pilot, knowing that we would lean into Cass County and schools, was probably, it would probably be more of a responsible decision to respect our relationship with Cass County and the schools, because this project specifically speaks more to the city than maybe the region. So through that discussion, we decided to pull back from the 10-year pilot and move to a 5-year pilot. However, during that process, we also realized that in order to move this this catalytic business over to our downtown area, we would have to find somewhere of the difference. So in discussion, we looked at creating a business incentive agreement. Their commitment would be a 10-year commitment at minimum. The process would be similar to some of the other programs that we've done, such as the enterprise grant, in which they would have the work completed and we would receive those paid invoices, proof of payment, and we would do that reimbursement process, or potentially pay directly to the contractor. So that's how that process would look. We are looking at approximately the dollar amount up to $442,692. How we came to this amount, again, was that difference between doing a 5-year pilot and a 10-year pilot and looking at what that would look like from the economic development sales tax dollars. And I decided to take a snapshot here of what the fit up would look like, and this is just a section of their fit up. Their fit up is much more than this to do this entire project. But the first 2 items on this list is a rooftop patio and an outdoor patio. And if you guys think about our downtown mixed-use area, this is something that is somewhat lacking in a space that our goal is to come and gather and convene and stay a while. And these 2 elements really spoke to me as the project they could build this, they could renovate this building without doing these 2 areas. And I think that this really speaks to what our downtown mixed-use area goals are, is to have a space in which people seek a destination. The last several pieces of the fit up are general things that we would normally consider within an enterprise grant. So if we look at what a normal enterprise grant would do, comparing the square footage of a lot of the places we've done enterprise grants with, these are typical things like a building permit, their demolition, interior and exterior painting, and then electrical, including their fire alarm. So just these items here total of $431,000. So those would be the items that I would look at us working with them to get accomplished. And then just to kind of jump in, I've had multiple businesses reach out to me in regards to hoping Junkyard will come. A lot of them say, man, this would be a catalyst for our downtown area. It will really help kind of kickstart that growth. So in conversation with the ownership, we talked about a little bit about what they're currently seeing as far as like daily transactions. Because I wanted to be curious if this would be an economic driver. Once they're up and running, if currently at their location in Moorhead, they get a little more than this, but on a conservative number, they have approximately 185 daily transactions. If we were to take a look at a third of those individuals spending just $25 each day in our downtown area, that's another $1,540 a day, or in a 360-day year, considering closures, there'd be $554,400 potentially spent downtown. And I know that doesn't come directly back to the city, but it does really help us in our goals for growing and activating our downtown area. If you want to get even more conservative, you can see I've outlined what a fourth of that would be, still reaching at 360 days, $416,000 to $416,250. So with that, I will open it up to questions for myself, or the ownership team is here as well.
Commissioners? Commissioner Olson?
Just for clarification on the property tax, would they still be paying the same property tax that's on the site right now? Or will they only be paying $500 a year in property taxes?
The $500 per year for 5 years. After that, they would pay on the improvements.
Okay.
Additional questions?
I'll just make a comment if I could, Mayor.
Commissioner Simmons?
Thank you. Casey, first of all, thank you and the owner for doing this workup. I think it's going to work, and I think it'll be a great catalyst for downtown. It's exactly what we need down there, a gathering place, a destination. And I think this will help all the other businesses as far as the catering. That's the beauty about this business, is that the food could come hopefully from the other establishments as they're sitting there, because I think it's going to help everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Again, if I could have you repeat, and this is for the public,
Certainly.
the 5-year pilot, the total dollar amount on the 5-year pilot as it stands alone is how many dollars?
$249,470.
The business incentive agreement,
$442,692.30.
so what's the total investment by the city with regard to the program?
I did not do the math.
I'll get my calculator out.
So 600,000,
You've already got it?
680,000?
Yep.
Am I not- Oh,
690.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, he's 680.
900,
Oops, wrong.
700 and,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I got it. I just about have the math done here, so I didn't catch the final numbers of your 440,000. Okay, just want everybody to understand what that dollar amount is of the decision makers sitting beside me.
I've had people reach out that are former West Fargo residents. They live now in Bismarck, and they say that they agree. This is a catalyst, just like what Commissioner Simmons said. I don't want to play favoritism. This is their words, the best brewery in town. Just repeating their words. So that would be a win for West Fargo and for Junkyard for them to move here. So I'll make the motion to approve the pilot and the business agreement incentive.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson, seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the Junkyard 5-year pilot and business incentive agreement as presented by Casey Sanders Berglund this evening, our Economic Development Director. Is there any further discussion?
One question,
Please, Commissioner Simmons.
Mayor.
Commissioner Simmons.
Casey, how fast can they get over here?
I think they need a few months. A few months.
Okay,
Spring's coming.
good.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is project number 1343, a sanitary lift station system rehabilitation. Project number 4068, storm sewer lift station SM64 and force main rehabilitation. Presenting this evening is Mr. Dan Hanson, City Engineer for the City of West Fargo. The purpose of the discussion is to accept the bid and award a contract. Good evening, Mr. Hanson, and welcome.
Good evening, Commissioner President Dardis and fellow commissioners. Moving from the junkyard to sanitary sewer lift stations, it's nice to keep it exciting. We did open up some bids.
It's a matter of perspective, Mr. Hanson.
We opened up the bids, and the bids contained 2 different project numbers, 1343, which is the sanitary sewer rehabilitations. Those are those lift stations that every year we have been updating our sanitary sewer lift stations. So this is an ongoing process with this. I believe this is our 4th project, and we're nearing the end of the updating of the old ones that were originally identified in that technical memo. So it's a good thing that we're able to do this. Included in this bid was 4068, which is also the updating of the storm lift station SM54. Which needed some similar upgrades, and we decided that we were going to bid these out because it's similar work. You would have the same contractors bidding on it, so we just, the quantity of scale to be able to get as good a prices as we could. We were fortunate to have a bidder in the amount of $1,188,400 in CC Steel, LLC. They are the company that has done the vast majority of these other lift station projects for us. They've been fantastic to work with, so we were happy to see that bid. We did have an option to bid the electrical out per the Century Code if there was somebody that wanted to be able to just bid the electrical, and the bid for that was higher than the electrical bid that was included in the base contracts, the alternates of the base contract. So we don't have separate contracts to award. We would just recommend that we would award the one contract to CC Steel in the amount of $1,188,400. And with that, I would entertain any questions.
Questions, Commissioners? For Mr. Hanson?
So does this include the electrical?
Yes, it does.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yep.
Anyone else? Questions for Mr. Hanson? What's your pleasure, Commissioners?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Is there a second, please?
Second?
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the project number 1343, sanitary lift station system rehabilitation, and project number 4068, a storm sewer lift station and force main rehabilitation. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, all please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Mr. Hanson, would you stay at the podium, please?
Absolutely.
Over the course of the last 6 months or so, we've been approving a lot of different projects, and I've been going through the CIP, trying to track how many dollars that we've spent specifically on storm sewer rehabilitation or some of the different projects. Would it be possible by the next meeting or our second meeting in March that we have kind of a working dollar amount as to where we're at? You know, we talk about Mrs. Fisk always talks about what dollars we have available to do these types of projects, and I'm been neglect. I haven't kept a running total, and so I'm going to ask you to do that legwork if you would, please.
I can, are we talking active open contracts or ones that have expired as well that we have done? Or
Anything that's 2022 that carried over to 2023, of where you project we might be, what we've spent up to this point that's going to actually have a check written in 2023. I just think we should be cognizant of
Thinking
what
funds
those.
that might be encumbering water and sewer rate type, yeah.
Exactly
That's a
right,
good point.
Commissioner.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
exactly my thought process.
absolutely.
If you'd be
and-
so kind.
Yep.
And like like I said, if it takes you some time, just drop us a note, all of the commissioners, please, of approximately when we might receive that data.
Yep, I've been keeping an internal tally myself, so I'll brush up my numbers, and I'm hopeful that I can
Then it
come
could
back
be
at the next
relatively
one.
easy for you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 6, backyard chicken keeping for residential properties. I had trouble saying keeping. Commissioners Mandy George and Robin Anderson.
Great. Thank you so much, Commission President Dardis. So this is a topic I know both Robin and myself have been very interested in for a few years now. We've had multiple residents actually approach us and request to be allowed to have backyard chickens. Fargo does allow backyard chickens, and we feel right now the time is relevant to bring this forward with the cost of eggs that has been continually increasing. Even though keeping a backyard chicken may or may not actually save you money, I think it's something that if people want the choice or the option, they should be allowed to have. There's some information in your packet, and we have members from MetroCog and Cass Valley Food Commission that have some information and can maybe come and speak to this topic and answer any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Commissioner Anderson, anything to add?
No, I just think that, I'd like to see it as an option for residents. I feel like it could also be, it could help with food security as well with, we've seen shortages of eggs and everything. It's not just the cost, but being able to have a regular stream of eggs would be beneficial. That's all I got.
Commissioner Olson.
One quick question. When you say multiple, do you have a number? Is it 5, 10?
Yeah, so what we're going to be looking for is to direct staff to work towards an ordinance which would have more specifics. So tonight is not necessarily to approve an ordinance, it's to direct staff to work towards one. Fargo allows 4, is that correct? So,
That's not my question. You said you had multiple residents contact
Yes.
you. How many, what is that number? How many people?
oh,
actually
I think
have-
about 4 or 5, yeah.
4 or 5, okay.
Yeah, so no, this isn't something we're thinking the entire city would do. We're thinking maybe 1 to 2 dozen people citywide would probably have a realistic interest in actually doing this. It's you know. So.
Apparently, they'd never cleaned out a chicken coop when they were a kid like I had to.
Or me too.
Sir, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, thank you, Commission President, members of the Commission. My name is Adam Alterberg, and I'm with the Fargo-Moorhead Metropolitan Council of Governments. Also with me tonight is Michelle Jackson from Fargo Cast Public Health. One of the community assignments that MetroCog helps to administer is the Cass Clay Food Commission. We provide staff support for that. The goal of this commission is basically to provide guidance and education on local food and hunger issues in our community. And over the years, we've developed a number of policy documents related to local food systems issues. Should jurisdictions decide to move forward with such an issue, one of those, of course, is backyard chicken keeping. Currently, there are 2 jurisdictions in our area that do allow for chickens with conditions, including the city of Fargo and the city of Horace. City of Moorhead is also in discussions with putting together an ordinance that would allow for backyard chicken keeping. But one of the attachments that should be in your packets tonight was the blueprint that we put together. Just provides best practices and case studies should a jurisdiction move forward with an ordinance to allow for backyard chicken keeping. But with that, happy to answer any general questions you may have.
Thank you. Commissioners, any additional comments or questions of the gentleman? Thank you, sir. Again, the purpose of this discussion this evening, as Commissioner George and Commissioner Anderson outlined, is just a resolution to instruct staff to do the research of, as the gentleman said, what our surrounding communities, what they allow. I've read through it, 6 foot high and X number of square feet per chicken and a maximum of 4 chickens with regard to Fargo. So again, it's a resolution to allow staff to evaluate and analyze. And I would hope during that same analytical approach to this, that how does the permitting or oversight and all of those types of things, and I would assume that the other cities or health departments have that in that information, and so, but I will be very interested in that aspect of it. I think that's important that the public needs to know that. So again, we're asking for a resolution to direct staff and the city attorney to take a look at an ordinance to allow X number of chickens per household.
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Simmons, did you have a comment? I have a second with Commissioner Anderson.
I did. I just noticed how quickly Commissioner George made that motion. So it was, she's very excited about it. I could tell, and that's a good thing.
You ought to see her in person if you think she's very excited on Zoom. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Should we consider that Lieutenant Anderson be the compliance officer for chickens? So moved. Being he's acting chief of police for the city of West Fargo this week? I should never taunt a man that carries a taser. My apologies. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. City Administrator's report. Mrs. Fisk, do you have something for us?
Good evening, Commission President and Commissioners. I just have a couple quick things. Last Saturday, for those of you that were able to attend, there was a legislative forum when I talk, held here in the Commission chambers. I was unable to attend, but I understand that Bernie did the honors of being the MC for the event, so thank you for them. I believe there's another one coming up here.
March 18th,
March 18th, okay, on March 18th.
9 a.m. in this facility.
Okay. And along with that, there's going to be a joint Fargo, West Fargo, Cass County crossover legislative update. I just sent you guys the flyer for it because I just got it from Fargo. It will be on the 28th. There'll be 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock reception in their main hallway to visit with all the different legislators and staff. And then from 12 to 2 will be the crossover legislative update. And that is all I have for you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Fisk? All right, thank you. Any correspondence to report, Mrs. Fisk, by chance? I don't think we have.
The only thing I have is I just received, or just either just received or just noticed I received, Casey had shared with you a letter from Cheyenne Learning Academy. And so I'm assuming you all got that in your mailboxes, thanking us for, or thanking you for looking into this. So other than that, no, I do not.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisk. Does any commissioner have any non-agenda item they'd like to bring forward this evening?
I just have one, Mayor.
Please, Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you. I just want to clarify something earlier Commissioner Olson said, because about Wendy, the reporting. I read that article and I didn't see anything in there of her mentioning a tax credit. So I don't know if it came from a complaint or, I'm just asking, that's all.
If you read it later in the afternoon, they clarified it and changed it, Commissioner Simmons.
It wasn't in the forum, it was on KVLY.
Oh, so it wasn't our reporter.
Yeah, they
Right.
called it a tax credit, and then.
Right.
Oh, okay, I apologize. I thought it was Wendy writing. I wanted to,
No,
I want to
said
just
media.
clarify it wasn't her article, so, thank you.
And-
No complaints, just asking.
Yep, and Communications immediately reached out to them, and they changed their wording and language, so.
Good, thank you.
Again, does any commissioner have any non-agenda item? Does any department have any non-agenda item they'd like to bring forward? All right. Commissioner Simmons,
Move to adjourn.
Commissioner Olson,
Second.
we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, why can't I just